Hello, my name is Liam, and today I'm going to go over the rule of law and why this might just be a nation's most valuable asset and why rule of law is so important in that of governments around the world. First off, let's start by talking about what is rule of law. According to the World Justice Project.org, rule of law is defined as a durable system of laws, institutions, norms, and community commitment that delivers accountability, just law, open government, and accessible and impartial justice. It is the set of ideals that are meant to ensure a just and orderly system of government in a country. Most countries around the globe strive to uphold rule of law so that nobody finds themselves above the law in any way, where everybody is treated equally underneath that law and all are held accountable for their actions while all laws are enforced in a clear and fair process and all human rights are guaranteed. Here's a quick breakdown of rule of law with 5 different aspects of it. First, we have transparency, predictability, stability, enforceability/accountability, and due process. Through these and the governance of them, we see the rule of law into play within different countries and how each government manages the situation in each country, according to the rule of law typically written within their constitutions. Let's take a look at an example of rule of law within the United States of America. The U.S. Constitution identifies certain individual rights, such as the right to due process and the lawyer in court when one comes into a run-in with the law. It offers individuals other rights such as freedom of speech, press, religion, and even the right to bear arms, etc. It also limits the actions that the government can take, such as protecting citizens against the establishment of a state religion, state-controlled press, unlawful searches, and cruel and unusual punishments. This is the rule of law within the United States of America. A written constitution that all people follow would be an example of rule of law. All nations have some sort of constitution within their government that set out these rules and these laws, that set out the rule of law in each one. While many are different, such as the United States and take Pakistan, as we are in the class learning about Pakistan, it says that in the United States Constitution limits the actions of government can take, such as creating a established state religion. This would be different from that of the Constitution and rule of law within Pakistan, where the nation's religion is Muslim and it is a state-established religion. In the United States Constitution, it states, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be in the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding." So here's just an example of what rule of law looks like within a constitution or the equivalent of a constitution in another country. Let's take a look at some statistics of rule of law and what we can see from rule of law within different nations around the world. In general, the overall rule of law in countries around the world in the past year has declined in the year 2020 and before, continuing a negative slide toward a weakening and stagnating rule of law around the world in almost every corner of the globe. The majority of countries around the world show this downward spiral in this graph below. At a global level in the past year, countries experienced the biggest declines within fundamental rights, as 54 countries declined in this aspect and 29 improved. Constraints on government powers, as 59 countries declined in this aspect and 28 improved. And the absence of corruption, such as terrorism, etc., as 51 declined in this aspect, while 26 countries improved, as seen in this below. Now we can look at the top performers in the increase and the bettering of the rule of law within countries and the bottom performers. Typically, European countries such as Denmark, Norway, Finland, Sweden, Netherlands, Germany, as listed below, have a stronger rule of law ranking in the past year, according to worldjusticeproject.org, while some in South American countries, Middle Eastern countries, and some Asian countries such as Cambodia were ranking the lowest overall in the charts for decline in the ranking of rule of law movement, as shown in the figures below, with top performers and the bottom performers. As we can see, Pakistan is in the bottom performers, with more of a decrease within their rule of law system. Speaking of Pakistan, and being in a class learning about more specifics of Pakistan and its country, let's talk more about the rule of law within this nation. In Pakistan, an essential component of the rule of law is accountability, and that no one is above the law in any way. The law must apply equally to everyone, both men and women. The biggest laws that Pakistanis must follow are in regards to drug offenses, blasphemy, unlawful assembly, and even homosexuality. Pakistan's rule of law is also very impacted by severe sectarian violence because of its nature as a Muslim country. The Constitution of Pakistan recognized equality between both men and women from its civil system, which is the system of law concerned with private relations between members of a community rather than criminal, military, or religious affairs, and Sharia law, which is religious law forming part of Islamic traditions. Why is rule of law important, and why is it something that we study to learn more about? Laws are important in the sense that they are for our general safety within our respective countries. When we were little, we were given rules that we needed to follow by our parents. Typically, and mostly, these rules were set out by our parents for our own safety and protection, because they care for us. These laws, they ensure our rights as citizens against abuse by other people and organizations such as the government. When we followed our parents' rules, we were protected from harm, such as this. Laws can be seen as the framework for a society, and the rule of law of a society is the foundation of governance. Under the rule of law, every citizen of the respective nation can live and work in a safe manner. They are not subjected to arbitrary government and are protected by any types of abuse of power by the state, as outlined in most constitutions in each country around the globe. It is the political ideal that all citizens should be fighting for. Each citizen of the respective country must strive to obey the laws that are set out before them, be accountable for their actions, and strive to protect the laws laid out before them by obeying them. An example of this could be following the speed limit on a certain road, or other laws where we obey them. Therefore, we are protecting the rule of law set up before us. Is this a nation's most valuable asset? I believe it is. Overall, in the years that we have had as a human race within our different societies that we have established and come to, we have found different ways that work and different ways that do not work in the governance of our land. We have found systems to put into place that we have found effective for our people, and systems that have not been effective. When a country sets out a list of rules of how things should be and how things must run, aka the rule of law, through a constitution defining their government structure, things tend to run more smoothly. While there are always challenges, the rule of law is almost always what we fall back on to know what we need to do, what is provided to us, and what we are allowed to do as individual citizens. The rule of law is both an individual matter and a national one. It helps us understand our individual rights and also what our country can do against other countries in times of crisis. It is something that we can look back on always. I believe that it is vital that each nation continues to maintain and strive to improve their rule of law to make things better for its people. Thank you.